Hello, this is Sharon Steniford, and this is Belive, the Belive show called Say It in Your Own Words, and we're fortunate to have Ariana Martins here with us, a Brazilian musician who performs in the Central Square area. Hi, Ariana.
Hi, Sharon.
Could you tell us a little bit about your music and about the Central Square Brazilian music scene?
Sure. I've been playing music since I was about 8. That's when I started with guitar, and moved to this country about 9 years ago. And for many reasons, this is the place where I first really put music in a new place in my life and started performing in public. Had never done so in my own country, although music had always played an important role in my life. So I started playing music publicly about 4 years ago with a first project called Brazil Nut. It started very informally with some friends and grew into something very enjoyable, where we started playing already in Cambridge at Riles Jazz Club.
Mm-hmm.
We were in residency there once a month for a couple of years, playing at the dance hall, with a very upbeat repertoire and having a great time with it. And then that project stopped at the end of last year, and just recently I got involved with the Brazilian music scene here in Central Square, where I live, so it's a real pleasure to start with. I've been playing once a month at Luna Cafe, which is a well-known spot here in the area, and we have Brazilian music every Thursday evening there. It's been a real pleasure. There's a real sense of community building around it there, and I've shared the opportunity to bring Brazilian music to this area with a number of other Brazilian musicians or people playing Brazilian music that take turns every Thursday evening.
Yes, I was there the other night, and it was so mellow. It's a very dreamy music. You can talk to your friends. You can enjoy relaxing at the Luna Cafe after work. And I saw people working on their laptop computers, and some just unwinding after a day of work. It was very pleasant, and you could talk and enjoy the music. It wasn't something you could totally watch it, or you could just enjoy your conversation and eat the delicious food that was there at the Luna Cafe. Could you tell us exactly where the Luna Cafe is? Yes,
it's at 403 Mass Ave, right where Mass Ave and Main Street meet in the corner of Columbus Street. It's been a real sense of community there every Thursday night. People come for all sorts of reasons, but music is a real draw. And there's live music there other days of the week, other times of the day. But I need to say that the Brazilian evening has been quite special. It was started by an American jazz singer called Evelyn Rosenthal, who started playing there a little while ago, and eventually decided to turn it into a rotating system where a few of us take turns each Thursday. And we each draw on slightly different sides of a very rich Brazilian repertoire. And I think we each are bringing a newer audience to enjoy and appreciate and learn about Brazilian music. So real pleasure to provide that to the community.
And I know Brazilian music is just not one type of music. It's so diverse. There's so many branches of it. Could you talk a little bit about the kind of music you do and what other types there are out there?
Yeah, so we're mostly 4 musicians or ensembles taking turns there every Thursday. I draw on what we call Brazilian popular music. It's kind of a broad concept at this point. I prefer to say Brazilian creative music, on the tradition of bossa nova, but mostly samba, both in very, very traditional forms, but also in more modern forms that incorporate jazz, or even some other rhythms from the northeast of the country, like forró or baião. And I personally like to bring a little more contemporary repertoire as well, so maybe from some newer artists that are just showing up in the Brazilian scene, which I try to keep up with as much as possible. So sometimes a little more pop feel to them. Each week you're gonna get a slightly different take on Brazilian music there. So Evelyn Rosenthal is an American jazz singer with a real love for Brazilian music. She learned to speak Portuguese so that she could sing the music in Portuguese, and definitely, as she says, in the crossroad of jazz and Brazilian music. Her group is called Caminhos Cruzados, which means exactly that, the crossroads. Then there is a wonderful singer called Valdir Zamora, who has the deepest, most beautiful voice, and she's from the northeast of the country that has its own set of traditional rhythms, and her music is more grounded on maybe ethnic and root music from that part of the country, but also with a lot of samba and just beautiful percussion accompanying it. And finally, there's a very special group, probably my favorite in town, called Choro Democrático. They play a Brazilian instrumental style called choro, that's C-H-O-R-O. This is music from the late 1800s and early 20th century, probably predating samba, a real, probably one of the first truly Brazilian styles to emerge from the combination of European traditions and African traditions that made Brazilian music what it is. And they are a wonderful 7-piece ensemble with incredible musicianship, and something that you don't see very often, even in Brazil. It's a tradition that has seen a revival in the past maybe decade or so, and I was so pleased to see it take root here in Cambridge. So definitely worthwhile checking them out. I also have the pleasure of playing with 2 musicians from Choro Democrático. So 2 of them are playing in my group right now. I can talk more about that if you want.
Yes.
So in the past few months, I've been having the pleasure of playing with 2 musicians from Choro Democrático. A wonderful bass player, can't, say how wonderful it has been to play with him. His name is Jason Davis. With me, he's been playing acoustic bass, which is a real pleasure. With Choro Democrático, he plays a 7-string guitar, which is part of the traditional instrumentation for choro. Very, very special player and good friend. And I'm playing with Adam Burami, who plays a Brazilian ukulele of sorts called cavaquinho. It's a very small guitar that has a very important role, especially in the samba and the choro traditions. He also plays guitars and bass and a little percussion. Just recently have had the pleasure of playing with Brazilian percussionist Marcos Santos, who is a well-known musician in the Boston area, has been around for a long time, played with many, many important people around, and it's been a real honor. He's bringing a real authentic feel to the music, and it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for that information. And could you play us a song?
Sure, let's do that. I'm gonna play a song called Sampa. Sampa is the nickname of my hometown, São Paulo, which is a small place with about 20 million people. It's by Caetano Veloso, who is one of the best known Brazilian artists. And he's from the northeast of the country and moved to São Paulo at some point early in his career, and wrote probably one of the most beautiful lyrics I've seen about the city and about the experience of being in that place that for him was pretty new and foreign. It's incredibly poetic. I wish the lyrics could come across as well as the music, but I chose it because it's a very dear song and talks about my hometown. So, Sampa. Alguma coisa acontece no meu coração, que só quando cruzo Ipiranga e a Avenida São João É que quando eu cheguei por aqui eu nada entendi da dura poesia concreta de tuas esquinas, da deselegância discreta de tuas meninas. Ainda não havia para mim, Rita Lee, a sua mais completa tradução. Alguma coisa acontece no meu coração, que só quando eu cruzo a Ipiranga e a Avenida São João, quando eu te encarei frente a frente, não vi o meu rosto. Chamei de mau gosto que vi, de mau gosto, mau gosto. É que Narciso acha feio que não é espelho, e a mente apavora o que ainda não é mesmo velho. Nada do que não era antes, quando não somos mutantes. E foste um difícil começo, a face do que não conheço. Quem vem de outro sonho feliz de cidade, aprende depressa a chamar-te de realidade. Porque és o avesso do avesso, do avesso, do avesso, do povo oprimido nas filas, nas vilas, favelas, da força da grana que ergue e destrói coisas belas, da feia fumaça que sobe apagando as estrelas. Eu vejo surgir teus poetas de campos espaços, tuas oficinas de florestas, teus deuses da chuva, panaméricas de Áfricas utópicas, túmulo do samba, mais possível novo quilombo de zumbi. E os novos baianos passeiam na tua garoa, e os novos baianos te podem curtir numa boa.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's such a gracious music. I think the thing I see that it has in common with jazz is a graciousness among the musicians who play. No one tries to dominate in a group. Everybody has a chance to shine as they play, and there's a softness and beauty to that music that is just unique.
It's interesting that you mention it because the choro ensemble, the name they chose for the group is Choro Democrático, which means democratic choro.
Oh, okay.
That is a particularly democratic style in the Brazilian repertoire because it's very improvisational and various instruments take turns leading the melody and leading the improvisational lines. But I guess you're right. I think in general is a type of repertoire that allows for a lot of sharing and a lot of collaboration, probably a little bit in the jazz tradition.
Yes. And having come from Brazil, what is your perception of Cambridge, of the audiences, of the people, of the music world here?
Well, Boston is a very special place for music. I know for sure that here, in Brazil, there's so much amazing music. In a place like São Paulo, for example, you have opportunities to see live music, amazing live music, every day of the week, all the time. And here, it's still special. There's enough Brazilian music around, but I still find it special. And I love to see the diversity of the audience, especially at Luna. There's something very special happening there where you see several generations coming to see the music, you see families bringing kids, you see people from all nationalities. I know that is part of the Cambridge experience with all the universities and the international student community, but I find a very special opportunity to bring Brazilian music to such wide audience. And it's building upon that. I think people are starting to spread the word, starting to follow some of us around when we perform elsewhere. So it feels quite special.
And how would you describe the Brazilian community in and around Cambridge? I know Framingham has another large Brazilian community, and Cambridge are the larger communities in this area? Yeah.
Well, yes, there's a very large Brazilian community in the Boston area in general, and probably in Cambridge more and more so, more recently. There's also all sorts of Brazilian music. If you look around, what we play, it's probably in one tradition, and you can find other venues maybe in other towns that draw on a wider variety of what Brazilian music can offer. Here, it feels like there's a real place for samba, there's a real place for bossa nova, and now I'm finding out with choro, for example, there's a real place for that tradition. Maybe because it draws more on the jazz background, or what I can say is that at least for us here, we are not playing for a Brazilian audience per se, and I find that refreshing, and I find that very encouraging.
And I think another characteristic too that I appreciate is the poetics of Brazilian music. And from what I understand, some of the forms of music, some of the greatest music emerged from contests that they had in Brazil a long time ago, which is very amazing. People were put in the public spotlight as a result of winning these contests and creating this gorgeous music out of some of the poorest parts of the country. And that just, I think it could account for some of the emotional tone is so rich and beautiful in that music.
I can't speak highly enough of the poetics in Brazilian music. I actually think that some of the most beautiful poetry in Brazil has been written in the song form. I think the song form is such a presence in Brazilian culture that there's a whole set of studies, even from like a linguistic point of view, of how the Brazilian Portuguese has this special connection when it comes to matching and fitting a melodic line in such seamless fashion, and how over the decades at this point, songwriters and lyricists just found that perfect combination that make it so special. I often wish people could understand the words I'm saying. There's a richness of subjects from the expected romantic lyrics everywhere, from quite strong social commentary to simply fun nonsense lyrics, but all very poetic nonetheless. And I, as much as I can, I try to convey a little bit of the background for some songs that are particularly important. I have, for some reason, a personal preference for wordy songs, people say. I love to play a few very fast songs, and I usually joke and I say that I swear I'm saying every single word and they mean something very nice. But it's my hope that some of it comes across despite the language barrier. But I wish people could understand better. And yes, what I mentioned early on, what's called in Brazil MPB, which stands for Brazilian Popular Music, it's a concept that was developed very much around this festival period that we had, where really incredibly high quality music was in the center of the interest in the public eye through nationwide festivals that brought to the national scene some of the people who are today famous. One of our best songwriters and singers, Gilberto Gil, Caetano Veloso, Chico Buarque, Edu Lobo, and I can go on and on and on. So that was definitely a very special moment in Brazilian music, and a lot of what we have today came from that period.
And how do you see the music in Cambridge? What do you see for the future? What direction do you see it going in locally?
I would love to see more people playing, and I would love to see us playing more and more. I think it's happening already. I think people are connecting in different ways. Different musicians are starting to collaborate in new ways. I just hoping that here from Luna we can keep expanding and bringing this which is a real passion of mine, to be more known. For example, I love to see people who come for the first time and keep coming back. And when they come back, I realize that they start to recognize some of my repertoire. That's the moment that you are there for, waiting for that special appreciation of an art form that you also appreciate so much.
And I think one of the amazing things about Cambridge, you can have the tiniest little performance space and have the most magnificent music. The place was just filled when I went the other night, and it was just such top-notch performances in such a tiny little space. I noticed one couple got up and danced, and there was just barely enough room for them to dance, but they made it work.
Yes, I need to say it was probably a very unlikely development that Luna Cafe became such an important spot for live music in general and for Brazilian music in particular. We had a wonderful summer there. We kept the windows open. We were able to enjoy the new Lafayette Square that was finished over the summer. We drew a considerable crowd that has been dancing throughout the summer, and it's my deep hope that with the winter and with the windows closed, we can keep things going inside and keep it warm and cozy there with good music and the good food and the good espressos and just the warm scene that we've created there anyway. But you're right, it was a very unexpected development that place would become a center for live music.
Yes, and do you feel that the renovation in Lafayette Square has improved, the foot traffic or people being able to come out and enjoy that music? To me, it's lovely. All the flowers, all the little tables you can meet and enjoy, in the nice weather, and then have cafes right next door to go indoors when it's cold.
Well, we were all counting the days for construction to be over there, because we knew it was going to become, would provide that opportunity. People really stopped and took a seat in the new benches there and got to enjoy the music as well as the outdoors, which in this part of the world doesn't last very long. So yes, I think it contributed a lot during the summer for this whole scene to develop. That's why I'm saying that I'm hoping we can keep most of it, even though we need to be inside from now on.
Yes. And could you just remind us again how people can, where they can go to listen to your music and how they can contact people for Brazilian music entertainment?
Sure. Luna Cafe, they have a page on MySpace, La Luna Cafe.
Okay.
So I think you can find all the performance schedule there. But in general, people can just come by any Thursday evening.
Okay.
We start around 7:30 or 8, and we go until 11 or so.
Okay.
So just come by, we rotate. Some of us perform in other venues as well. I can say that, let me see, this coming Thursday, I believe Evelyn Rosenthal is at Luna. The following Thursday is Choro Democrático. And I should also say that Jason Davis, who's playing bass with me, wonderful musician, he has a parallel project called Earth Sound, where he plays a variety of styles, including Brazilian music. And he'll be at Riles tomorrow evening, so that's a real opportunity to see something very special as well. And Jason Davis and Adam Barami are just working on building a website so that we can consolidate a lot of the information about these groups.
Okay.
It's not up yet, but I believe it will be soon, and I believe the URL will be bostonbrazilianmusic.com. So that should be coming up shortly, and people will be able to learn about all of us in one place, which is great.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being our guest on Belive.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.